This is Augie, and Augie has separation anxiety. In this video, I'm going to show you how you can teach your dog to stay to help, and please, we have a new camera gimbal deal, so if it's a little bit wonky, we're figuring it out, yes. All right, so basically, separation anxiety, I'm going to talk about a little bit about first. Separation anxiety is essentially a panic attack that your dog goes through when it's left alone. Some dogs, thank you. Some dogs, anybody can be with me. Sometimes I have to be with a specific person. Now, he's only been in this house for a month. The first couple days he was in shock, but now he started to bark and a lot of reactive. So basically, it's when people get puppies, they don't realize that when they actually put the puppy alone or in a kennel and go to work for the first time, it's likely the first time in that dog's life it has ever been alone. Most dogs don't practice being alone. What they practice being is freaking out when they're alone. So that's the behavior that they're going to demonstrate. So my solution to separation anxiety is twofold. First of all, we want to eliminate the triggers, which I'm going to talk about in a second. The second thing I want to do is help the dog practice staying alone. And in order to do that, I find the best way to do is to teach your dog to stay, which is what we'll do in a second. Now, for the everybody, the shot looks better with you're in it. So basically, the triggers that I mentioned. Actually, let me look at your dew claws now that I think about it. Come here, buddy. Yeah, you're a little bit particular. Are they really floppy, the dew claws? If they're really floppy, sometimes you want to actually have them removed because they get caught on things. And I have a dog myself at home that actually tore hers half off. And so it's been just a deal. So it's something you want to look at your vet. We're not going to go more into the video. But there's a lot of triggers that happen. So if you're a nurse, which the guardian here is not, but if she puts her scrubs on and her certain work shows, the dog's like, oh, she only puts that on before she's about to abandon me. And I start to get worked up. So we call these triggers. So a lot of times picking up my purse, my sunglasses, my car keys, making a big deal. Are you going to be okay? Are you going to hang out when I'm gone at work? Can you be my tough little guy? We make it in a big deal and the dog gets more and more worked up. By the time we actually go out the door, they're in a frenzy. So when you leave and come, you want to just make no effort or don't interact with the dog at all, just until it's nice and calm, then you want to pet it. And we talked about that off camera. So now if your dog, if it is pulling out your keys, gets your dog excited, then every once in a while you just want to go over and if I can get my keys out, just go over and grab your keys and then put them back down. Pick them up, put them back down. It's called desensitizing. After a while, the dog just realizes sometimes she picks up her keys and doesn't do it. But also watch when we go to work. Sometimes we go through a ritual. We sit in that specific chair. We put on our shoes here. We go through all these things. So you might want to have one person film you as you're getting ready for work so you see what those triggers are and desensitize them. I'm guessing a lot of them are going to be related up there. Okay, so we want to make sure, first of all, that we're not getting our dog worked up. Second thing we're going to do is now we're going to go over how to teach your dog to stay. Now, when I teach the dog to stay, I teach it for the 3 Ds. The first D is for duration. I'm laughing because we have 2 film people here, and they're kind of arguing with each other behind the camera about what the camera shot is. I love it. We're going to have an awesome looking video here. 3 Ds. The first D is for duration, up to 5 minutes. We want the dog to stay right here. For most dogs, staying is really hard. Why? I can smell you have a whole bunch of treats. Why are you not giving them to me? I'm sitting here. What do you want to sit? You want to shake? So they'll go through all these different things. So teaching your dog just to stay here is kind of hard for dogs. So you start at 1 second, and I'm going to show you in a second, and then you work your way up to 5 minutes. And don't practice just right here. Practice over here, over there, in that room, all over the house. Dogs don't generalize. They have to practice things in different capacities. But we want to make it easy, not when there's construction, not when there's dogs barking or coming by or upstairs or whatever it is. We want the dog to have the easiest version possible. Once we've taught for duration, the next one is to teach for distance. Most people try to do distance and duration at the same time. They tell their dog to stay, and they take a step back and say, come. Well, you're teaching a dog what we call an auto-release, and you're trying to do multiple things at once. It's too hard. So don't move to distance until your dog can stay consistently for up to 5 minutes right here in front of you. When you do get to distance, what I usually do is I say stay, I take 1 step backwards, I count to 2, then I take 1 step forward and give the dog a treat and say the word stay. The next time I might take 2 steps back and I count to 4. That's my genesis, my starting off point, but I'm going to change it depending on each dog and how well they go. My dog Quest, when he was a puppy, I had to spend 2 weeks of 1 second stays. When I tried to go to 2 seconds, he would get up and lose interest or try to offer me a shake. So just go at your dog's pace, not at your pace. Once you get to the 20 paces away from your dog with it staying, then you're ready to go out of line of sight. You're only going to do that for a second. And I'll kind of go through that. Let's just show you the first part of it first. All right, so I'm going to put him over here so we have good camera presence. Sit. Yes. Now I'm going to treat from this hand. I'm going to use this hand as my signal. My hand signal is stop. And what I want to do is put it halfway between me and the dog, and I'm going to put it back on my breast, and I'm going to start counting. Always count in your head. We also need to come up with a release word for the stay. I have a different release word for each dog. I have 4 dogs: break, release, freedom, and parole. I like funny community words. Do you like any of those words as your release word? Parole. Okay. So what we're going to do is stay is going to be this, and then on parole, at the end of practicing, we're going to toss a treat to let him know we're done. So I don't want him to focus on this, so I'm going to keep it here, but I'm holding it between my thumb and forefinger so I can deliver the treat right away. So Auggie, stay. 1, 2, 3. Now, that's a good little point. Stay. Some dogs prefer staying in a sit. Some dogs prefer staying in an LAY. Whatever your dog wants to do, that's fine. Just do it with them. The book says as long as they stay in the location, they're okay. I want, if I put my dog in a sit, to stay in a sit. But I do this professionally, so I have higher standards for my dogs. All right, so since he seems to be like the leg, we'll start with this. So my hand is behind my back with the treats. Stay, and I'm going to count to 5. Stay. So put the treat in the mouth first, and then say stay 7. And then I get another treat ready to go. Put my hand behind my back. Stay, and we'll go to 10 seconds. Stay. And you're going to go on and on and on. When I get done, to teach the release command, I'm going to do this. Parole. So I throw the last treat after we practice 5, 10, however many times we do it. We throw the last treat and we say parole when he licks it up. So that teaches him parole means we're done with the exercise. Now, first, like I said, you want to go whatever duration he can go. I would start out probably at 5 seconds, then go 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, whatever. Keep it short. At first, you want to keep the practice sessions under about a minute or 2. And if you noticed, I was looking around. I don't want to stare at the dog the whole time, because if I do that, then the first time when I start moving distance and I start moving away and I look away, he gets up and comes and follows me. So he doesn't have to look at me when he's doing it. He just has to stay in place. So you want to practice maybe 5, however many times, like 5 to 10 times, and then you throw the treat away. So let's say I went 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, all the way to 50. Next time I might go by 6s or by 7s. And always count in your head. So if I go from let's say I go from 10 to 15s, and I go 15, and then I go try to go to 30, and at 18 he gets up, well, then I would back up and practice at a second or 2 before the point where he got up. That's why it's really important that you count in your head. So you get to the point where you could be up to 5 minutes for your dog staying, and he does it 5 times in a row. That's when we want to go to start adding in distance, and I'll show you here. Come here, Auggie. We're going to switch positions. No, you can go get that one. All right, Auggie, sit. Now I'm going to stand up, and if I stand up and you can't see me from my head, that's fine. All I need is for my shoulders down, so don't worry about it if you can't. So I'd say stay, put it back to my chest. 1, 1, 2, stay. 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 Whoops. Stay. Parole. Now, I'm going to have you just film me for this point. So when I get back to the point where I'm let's say I'm here, so when I get to the point, let's say the dog's right there, and I back up, the first time I go out of sight, I want to go sight like this, and then come back immediately and go give him a treat. So the first time you're out of sight, you're only going to be out of sight for 1 second. The next time, 2 seconds, 3 seconds. And if he starts coming to find you, then back up and practice that previous step. That's why it's so important. You get to 100% success rate. 100% success when you're practicing a stay is really important. So if he starts releasing himself, then you push too far too fast. But the key is to go at your dog's pace. And if he gets up, he's telling you that you push too far. So you want to keep on doing this until eventually you can get to the point where I'm 20 feet away before I start stepping out of sight. And at first 1 second, 2 seconds, 3 seconds. Eventually we want to get to the point where we're out of sight for up to 5 minutes. Now, for dogs, once you can get them to do something for up to 2 hours, you don't ever have to practice beyond that. That's like the maximum that you have to help them get over separation anxiety or whatever it is. So the idea is when he has a separation anxiety, it's a panic attack when he's left alone. So we need to help him to practice being alone. But the best way that I found to do that is to practice with a stay. I'm staying alone, but with my humans in the house. So not actually leaving. The guardian noticed that if she's in he can be in the kennel, but as soon as she closes the kennel and leaves, that's when he freaks out. So what we want to do is put him in a stay, and then we go in the kitchen and make some food. Or at first what I would do is put him in a stay. Once you get, and don't do this until you're already at distance. Put him in a stay, go to the bathroom, and come back and release him. Put him in a stay, go to the kitchen, get a drink of water, then release him. And the idea is very progressively. Don't go from 5 minutes to 20 minutes. 5 minutes to 6 and 7 and so on and so forth. And always back up a step. Eventually, I'm going to have to sit down because I'm a little old, Auggie. But eventually you want to get to the point where your dog can stay for a considerable period of time in the other room, in the bedroom, when you're out here watching TV. The next step that I do, and I believe we have a security camera here, is I use a security camera and I actually step out. When we actually start leaving, usually we leave, okay, we're just going to go quick dinner nearby, so it's not going to be that long. Well, the first time you go out that door should be 1 second, then 2 seconds, and then so on and so forth. And the idea is to practice with you going right outside the door, so if he does get into trouble, you see on the security camera, you can come right back in if he starts destroying something. Chewing is a very natural behavior for dogs when they're stressed out. So a lot of dogs will chew because they're stressed. Other dogs will chew the pound molding around your doors or the wood or whatever because they're trying to get out to escape to come and find you. So if we can help the dog practice first in the house, then stay when we're outside the house. And so, I mean, if your Wi-Fi works, just go out there with your iPad and watch a little TV or do some reading so you can watch your dog and have it practice being alone, but with you only on the other side of the door. He doesn't know that. And then we gradually elongate it until we get to the point where, yeah, sometimes I'm alone a lot and I'm comfortable with it because I'm practicing being calm. If we put the dog in a kennel and we leave and he freaks out in the kennel, well, he's practicing freaking out in the kennel. That's not the behavior we want. We want calm energy. If I have dogs that are aggressive, I actually have to put them around another dog at a distance and help it practice being calm around the other dog. And then we gradually collapse that distance so we get right next to each other. And then they're so practiced at their normal. That's a normal behavior. Same sort of thing for him. We need to practice being alone in the easiest capacity, first for duration, then for distance. And eventually what we do is I would put him in a stay there when you have people walking by your house. So he likes to react to people coming by. So now we add distractions. But we don't do that until we've already established a firm foundation of first staying for duration, then for distance, then we do it for distractions. I actually go shopping with one of my dogs. He's in training to be a service dog. I go to this grocery store, we walk in the door, I tell him to stay, then I go and get all of my produce. And he's got to stay there, people walking in and out, and then I come and release him, and then we go and do the shopping. So at first I would only put him in a stay and I go get an apple, which is the first cart. Then I got apples and bananas. Then apples, bananas, and grapes and raisins, and whatever it is. So I keep on going further and further away. I set him up for success by helping him practice. That's what you want to do when he mouths you. Mm-hmm. All right, so let's do this. Let's come back over here real quick, buddy. We want to have you, you can come and get that way. Come here, Auggie. Sit. This long-legged guy is Auggie, and this is how you can teach your dog to stay, as well as some tips and tricks to help if your dog suffers from separation anxiety. Stay. That's right.